Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Leo. So, in this video, I want to talk about Tesla stock and Doge, Elon cutting the budgets everywhere, and basically why this is good for Tesla stock and good for Americans in general. Um, I will try not to get too political, and this is, of course, my opinion. None of it is financial advice. If you need professional financial advice, seek professional help. Anyway, another thing, I'll be using our stock research software at DRIPCalc.com for this video, and you can, if you want to try it, here at the banner at the top, you can save 30%. We have a Valentine's Day sale, get all kinds of information, visual stock information. Anyway, so let's begin. First of all, why this idea came to me. So yesterday there was a news. It already disappeared. I can't find it, but basically during the day, at the end of the day yesterday, Tesla stock fell to like $330, $332, almost towards closing. And the news was that basically that Elon is sleeping in on the couch in the White House, and that he's basically for the next 4 months he will be running Doge. Okay, so let me just quickly talk about this thumbnail that I chose for this video. So there was a saying by Charlie Wilson. He was a former CEO, I think, of General Motors, and then Eisenhower basically tapped him for a cabinet position, I think, Minister of Defense or something like that, Secretary of Defense. But anyway, so he said, he was asked, like, if he's gonna sell his General Motors stock, if he's gonna like use his position to benefit General Motors, and what he said is, "What's good for GM is good for America." And I've learned this saying a long time ago, even before I knew who said it. And but I love that saying. So that no longer is the truth. It's no longer truth because now GM is, compared to what it was, it's a joke. It's a shadow of its former self from the 50, 60 years ago. And now, so the message I'm trying to convey here is what's good for Tesla is good for America. And why I think that. So basically, yes, Elon is running Doge, and yes, he's cutting all kinds of spendings, waste, and like, I don't know what your opinion is on that. I'm sure I'm gonna get some political comments on this video, but I think it's good. I think that we shouldn't be funding um, Sesame Street in Iraq for $50 million, or like LGBT education in Ghana or Liberia or wherever. Doesn't matter. We shouldn't be paying that. And there's a lot of theft. Like there's people who are supposedly 150 years old who are receiving Social Security. And there's payments go out to people with no Social Security card, no Social Security number. There's like multiple double payments. It's completely insane, like how much money we waste, and also completely insane how much money is being printed. But Elon cutting the spendings will benefit everybody, not just you know Tesla or Elon himself. And the notion that there's, there's like Liz Warren, she's saying that President in Chief Elon, or whatever she's calling him, that he's benefiting from his connection, like that he's gonna steal your social security number and somehow like uh, benefit himself from that. Like, guy's loaded. He ran PayPal and he had all the social security numbers and all the financial information, and he wasn't stealing. But back then he was much poorer than he is today. So the notion that he will steal somebody's social security number and use that to enrich himself is completely insane. It's all like talking points. But the way it's gonna, once they cut the spending, like I really want them to cut that $2 trillion that he's aiming for, and here's why. Here's a treasury.gov website, and you can see here the deficit in the fiscal year of 24 was almost $2 trillion. So they brought in under 5 trillion, so $4.92 trillion. That was the government revenues, but they spent almost 7 trillion, and so the deficit was almost $2 trillion, which is completely insane, guys. Like, they're spending the money we don't have, and most of that money does not need to be, like, most of this deficit does not need to be spent. It's serious waste, and there's a lot of fraud. But like, I don't want to really go into politics. What I want to say is that once this deficit is cut, that will benefit all Americans. Here's how it will benefit all Americans. So, for example, let's say that housing prices do not go down, which I think they will, but maybe not. It depends on whether we get a bad recession or not. But let's say you buy a house for $500,000, $500,000, okay, and you finance it for 30 years, and current mortgage rates are 7% for people with decent credit. Okay, so we calculate that your mortgage payment would be 2661. Okay, but let's say that Elon and Doge are successful in cutting government waste, so then government will not have to print all this crazy money, because this $2 trillion that's coming out of, they just basically printed, they borrowed, and look, this year alone, this fiscal year, so since October 1st, they already spent $322 billion in interest payments alone. Okay, and so by the way, I think there's like, I'm not gonna say it's conspiracy, but basically you go to Google, and Google is lying to you. They're saying that national debt is national interest, that the interest on the national debt that they paid in fiscal year 2024 was $882 billion. It was actually a lot more than that. And then like this Peterson Foundation, they're saying 892. Okay, and that's how much they paid. But then if you look over here, this is a printout from Treasury monthly report. September 30th, that's the last month of the 24 fiscal year. And so here they're saying net interest that they paid was 882. But again, this is BS, because if you go into this table, where's the stupid interest? Next table. So see the interest. Here's how much they paid. Okay, current fiscal year, that's 2022. They paid $1.133 trillion in interest. Okay, so why they show that 892? I don't know. I think it's to mislead people. Like over here, they show 892, but their own website. Like here's a government accountability office website. Right here it says in fiscal year, interest on debt in fiscal year 2022 was 1.1626 trillion. Okay, so guys, this is the amount of money that we as a nation pay just on interest. Okay, and that is more than the whole military budget for last year. So Treasury website used to have this, like for 2024 they would have like cumulative of how much was paid so far, but now they only show 25 data. You cannot find 24 numbers. I don't know why, but anyway, this is like completely insane how much we're spending. And once that excess spending is cut, we won't have to spend that much money. We won't have to print that much money. We won't have to spend so much on national debt. Like, yes, sure, we have national debt. It's already insanely high, $36 trillion. Right here. No, this is the, what is this crap? National deficit fiscal year to date. So we already have almost $1 trillion of deficit since October. It's completely insane. But basically, so once that extra spending are cut, then everything kind of starts to work in to favor the American people. All right, the interest rates will go down, and I'll just show you. So back to this mortgage example, if you have a mortgage at 4% instead of 7%, you're immediately saving $750 per month. Okay, and that is that's $9,000. So that's $9,000 per year that you would save just in interest. Okay, $9,000 per year on an average home in US. Okay, then once the spending are cut, then government won't have to collect so much personal taxes, so they can give people a break on the personal income tax. Okay, so that's how people will get additional savings than your credit card, your car interest. Like there are people who are paying 25-30% on their credit cards, which is completely insane. And yes, 10-year treasury note going from 4.5% to 3% will not reduce your credit card interest, by a lot, but still, like if it goes back down even to 20%, that's still a lot. Like 5% is a lot. Let's say you have $10,000 in credit card debt and you're making a minimum payment and your rate is 30%. So each year you add $3,000 to your debt, which is completely insane. Yeah, I mean, like people who are in debt, they should definitely work on getting out of debt before they're like spending stuff on crazy money on crazy stuff. But basically, it's a snowball effect. Like everything will start to get better once the government spending are cut, once the deficit is removed, or like under Clinton, we didn't have a deficit. There was excess money under Clinton, so it's not that difficult. Just like get rid of all the stupid stuff, and uh, and that's it. So like back to Tesla. Um, how will that benefit Tesla? Well, because they're getting rid of the $7,500 tax credit, and that's across the board, that's not going to benefit Tesla. But um, if people have more money to spend, by cutting their expenses, like again, guys, the mortgage payment can be cut by $9,000 per year by just reducing the interest rate from 7% to 4%. And 4% is not impossible. It is actually very possible because that's the rates we had just 3 years ago. 3 years ago, before the Ukraine war started, I could refi my house for 2.75%, 2.75%. Okay, my current mortgage is 3.5, which is great. Not as great as I could have had, but 4% is very realistic. I bought the house with 4.125%. Okay, and that was 9 years ago. So going back to 4% is very realistic. And even like, let's say the home prices don't drop. I think they're completely insane right now, but let's say they don't go down. But if we slash the interest rates, then the mortgage payment gets $750 cheaper each month. Okay, again, so $1,910 right here at 4%, and at 7%, it's a 2661. So that's $750 that you can save on a mortgage, on an average mortgage payment. And I'm not even talking about how much money you save over the life of your mortgage. And the same goes for the car and for other borrowings that you have to do. So all that excess money uh, goes into people's pockets, then potentially tax cuts. Okay, and yeah, there's talk about um, tariffs, which could be inflationary. But the way I look at it, if they can actually get rid of personal income tax completely and replace it with tariffs, like think about it, guys. Let's say you spend $20,000 per year on stuff. Okay, let's just say that, and let's say that prices go up by 20%, so that 20 grand will become $24,000. So $4,000 increase in prices. Okay, that's how much you spend, like on food and this and that and clothing. But yeah, 20% is a lot, huge, a lot. But let's say you don't have to pay taxes anymore. Let's say you're making like $80,000, and then you don't really qualify for big tax breaks, and so the government gets to keep like 20 grand of your money, um, depending on all kinds of like deductions, exemptions, blah blah blah, maybe like 15 grand. So let's say you don't have to pay that $15,000. I would rather not pay $15,000 on in taxes and spend 20% more on stuff. Okay, it's still a net gain of $11,000. Like it's a napkin math, but just and I want to do a long video about that. But basically, cutting all that crap is good. It's good for everybody, and I don't know why people are fighting it, because ultimately it benefits everybody in the U.S. It's not as simple, but it's good. It will be good for everybody. Like all that waste should be cut. And then so back to Tesla stock. Um, Tesla stock just it will just have a bright future, and it has nothing to do with tax cuts and interest rates, because eventually Tesla will be like, yes, right now it's technically a car company in terms of their revenues and their incomes, because that's where it gets large chunk of their money. But the future for Tesla is not car sales, although cars are a big part of it. It's the FSD, it's the robotics, and a lot of people don't even pay attention to energy and other stuff that Tesla has. But so, by the way, like since we're talking about Tesla in this particular situation, I think, and I'm gonna make a separate video about it, but the FSD, I'm not even talking about the robotaxi, just the FSD. I think it's ingenious. It's not very good for the end user, but for the company, like most people, once FSD is released nationwide, once there's like regulations and state and federal regulations that allow it, and let's not even consider that Ford and GM and Chrysler and Hyundai and most of those guys will have to buy or license FSD from Tesla. Okay, let's just say just pure Tesla. So most people who try FSD, they fall in love with it. Okay, and let's say 50% adoption rate, which I think after like a couple of years, 2-3 years, it will be. I think half of Tesla people will have FSD. Okay, so how many cars are out there? Like last year alone, they shipped 2 million cars. So let's say 1 million cars will get FSD, and I'm talking about just last year alone. There's probably like 10 to 12 million Teslas on the road already. Um, yeah, not all of them are in the U.S., but let's say in the U.S. there's like $750,000, 750,000 cars. Let's call it a million cars in the U.S. per year. Okay, and probably like right now about 5 million Teslas overall. So each car will, or each driver, each Tesla owner will pay $100 a month for FSD. And let's say we're going to start with 2.5 million uh, Teslas that will have FSD. Okay, so that's 1,200 times 2.5 million per year. That's 300 million. I'm sorry, that's $3 billion per year just from FSD. Okay, and don't forget they're adding 2 million or more new cars on. They're selling 2 million or more cars every year, so those cars will get FSD. Then FSD will go international. They're already doing in Mexico and other countries, probably in Europe. Um, like just 3 billion cash because it's like a 90% margin product. Okay, recurring revenue every month. So every car they sell will basically come with recurring, or every other car will come with a recurring revenue of $1,200 per year. Okay, over 5 years, that's $6,000 on every car that they make. Okay, and then people can choose maybe like to buy a lifetime, but I think lifetime is completely stupid. What is it? 8 grand right now. Like I actually talked to Tesla sales guy, and he's like, yeah, so that lifetime FSD that's per car, not per driver. So you don't own the license; the car owns the license for the lifetime FSD. And if you sell the car, the FSD goes with the car. You no longer have it. So most people will actually choose to just pay $100 per month, and then all the GMs and Fords and Chryslers, they will jump on the bandwagon. So that's another like a million subscriptions per year. And so for that, Tesla maybe will receive like, I don't know, $70. They'll or $75, and then $25 will go to GM and Chrysler because like they're giving their platform to Tesla. But they're yeah, so like just the FSD alone is completely insane. But then like robotics, I mean, trillions and trillions and trillions of market cap in a few years. Okay, so I'll make a separate video about like my bull case for Tesla, but yeah, it's completely insane just the FSD, and then batteries, they're like super profitable. They just launched the battery factory in China, so now they will double their capacity, and the demand, they cannot meet the demand. Like there's so much demand for Tesla battery storage, it's insane. Now how can you, so first of all, like we had a massive dip in Tesla price over here, and I'm not saying you should buy or not buy. I don't give that advice on that, but just look at it this way. This was, I think, pre-market was 315 at some point. Let's say 320, and then immediately that day went to like 345, 340, almost 350, and then it dropped on the news that Musk is going to spend next 4 months working on Doge. Okay, but today it was at 365 at some point. Anyway, yeah. So if we look at one day, it peaked at 361, I guess. Yeah, not 365. Doesn't matter. Is it cheap? Is it expensive? I don't know. But let's say you buy 100 shares. Let's say you buy 100 shares today. If you're worried about it, what you can do, guys, you can go ahead and sell a January 2027 covered call, for $960. So you are obligated to sell your shares in 2 years for $960. If it goes to 2000, you still have to sell it for this much. Okay. But if you believe that it will not, you can sell right now. You can collect $3,300 right away. Okay. So you get 9% of today's price upfront, and then like you get to sell it for 960. That's almost 3x on your money in 2 years. Okay. I it's a great return by itself. Okay. And but then you're like, okay, I don't want to miss the train with Tesla. So yeah, I sold this call, but I still want to have exposure. So, and this is what I actually did today. I didn't sell the call. I'm worried it's going to be much higher than 960 in 2 years. So but what I did right here is I bought this spread. for June 2027. So as far as possible, this is the furthest out, like 2.5 years away. So I bought a 750 call. Okay, so that's $62 give or take per share. So that's 6,000. But then I sold an $800 call. Okay, so my total cost per contract per spread was $485. That's exactly what I paid today, and the maximum profit on that is $4,500. So that's 10x. Okay, I bought 5 of these guys today. You can see right here, -5 plus 5. So I spent $2,200, and if Tesla is above $800, my maximum profit will be 22,500, give or take. I don't remember exactly, but I did the calculation and it was about 20. So I spent, let's call it $2,500, and I stand to gain 22,000. That's 10x. Okay, 900% profit. It's quite nice. And basically, like, let's say you're worried that Tesla is, gonna crap the bed. You can sell this one. You collect $3,300 up front, and then if you want to get more exposure, you can buy a few of these contracts, and it's a 10x. Now, why did I go this far out of the money? Usually I wouldn't do that, but that's 2.5 years away, guys. The stock was 480 just like 2 months ago, and so, and we're still like, Tesla is still not kicking ass. Like, look at this. They've been stagnant for their revenue was stagnant since last quarter. So for the last 2 years, they basically didn't grow revenue almost at all. So year-over-year growth is 2.5% year-over-year. So the revenues are flat. Okay, so it's more clear over here. It's pretty flat. It hasn't been growing, but the FSD is still not rolled out. It's a partial. They don't, like, it's a deferred revenue. They already collected money for some of it, but because it's not fully released yet, it's still um, supervised. They cannot claim that revenue, so they're not putting it on the books yet. But and then by then the robotaxi is coming out in 6 months, maybe 9 months. Let's say they delay it, like just like they did with the robotaxi day. Let's say they delay. Let's say it comes in August or September or October. It's still coming out. It's already done. They already have the car. They have the software, and they're working with Austin right now. Then there will be more cities. Once they actually, like, you guys gotta watch this episode of Dumb Money, Chris Camillo talking about FSD. Once the not FSD, Tesla bot. Once the Tesla bot news start coming out en masse, the Tesla stock will skyrocket. That's just my opinion, not saying. But anyway, so back to that FSD's potential FSD sales. Look, here's their cash position. So in quarter over quarter, their cash position went up by about $3 billion. Okay, and so that extra money that they can be collecting from FSD, and it will keep growing. That's just like right now from just the cars they sell in 1 year. I'm not talking about the cars they already have on the road, and most of those are FSD capable, so they can sell FSD to about 90% of their fleet. So, what's their net cash, net income? No, right here, net income, $2.3 billion, and for the year, it's like about 6 billion, 7 billion. So just the FSD loan can basically like bring them the about 50% of their last year's net income. I think it's pretty crazy, and like all the other businesses, their battery storage is growing like crazy. For some reason, it hasn't been updated here yet. Why does not? Okay, energy. Okay, $2.3 billion in energy revenue. Well, it didn't grow that high, quarter over quarter, but like over here it was 1.4. No, it did. Energy. Okay, it actually went down. Anyway, so net, like, again, FSD is 90% gross margin. So most of that money will go to the bottom line. So I think Tesla has a great future. And then if the American people have more disposable income, they'll be buying nicer things like Tesla. There's a lot of people who actually want Tesla. They can't afford it for one reason or another. And then there will be like a cheaper version of Tesla coming out, which will also be FSD capable. Like, I think they have bright future. That's why I actually took a risk on the spreads. I think the cost is not that high. You're only paying $5 for the spread, and you stand to gain like $45 if this happens. And I believe it will happen by June of 2027, unless we have like a bad recession, like that can happen. But anyway, so yeah, guys, uh, I think Elon working, doing his Doge thing, like the guy is a monster. He can manage Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, XAI, which is like his AI business, Neuralink. Like he's a monster, and at the same time he can manage Doge. So, and I think he's got it. Like Tesla, at least on day-to-day operations, doesn't need him. Okay, and he's still on top of things. Like if you listen to the earnings call they had a couple weeks ago or a week ago, like he knows exactly what's happening with this car, with that car, with the production, with the bot, the progress. He's on top of things. He's just a monster in that regard. So yeah. So I think it's good overall for everybody that he's doing the Doge thing. And I don't think Tesla stock will suffer right now. It's on like it was 30% below its recent all-time high. Um, I don't know what you guys did, but I didn't buy a lot. But what I did is I bought back some covered calls that I sold previously for a pretty nice profit. I did sell a few puts. They're already basically printing money. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I know this was a long rant, but I think it's great that he's doing this. It's great for all Americans, and I think it will greatly benefit the U.S. economy. It will greatly benefit. As a result, it will greatly benefit Tesla as a company and Tesla's shareholders. Okay. Once again, none of this is financial advice. I didn't want to like start a political nonsense. I just wanted to kind of talk about, like put things in perspective and how I see it. If you like this, if you want to try this Visual Stocks software research software, again, just click here. You can try it for 30 days, for 14 days, completely free. And if you don't like it, just cancel, but you'll get 30% lifetime discount. So whatever, if we raise prices in the future, you still get to keep this discount, and your price will stay the same. So I think it's a great deal. I think this is a great software, and you can actually have the same thing where you compare different stocks side by side. Anyway, again, not financial advice. If you like this video, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave me your opinions about Elon working at Doge, and what do you think about cutting all the wasteful spendings. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.